Hi class, I wanted to give you a little bit of information about your week 1. This is your orientation for the course, and I will try and go through as quickly as I can the things I think are most important to you so that you will have enough time to do some of the other things like the assignments. All right, so let's just jump in. I'm Libby Perry. In case you don't know me, I've been at Full Sail quite a while in different degrees, mostly film, digital cinematography, and now media communications. And you can contact me through the assignment. The feedback is the best place. It's also where you want to make your requests. If you do that before the deadline, then you have 3 days without any point deduction, all right? But technically, after 3 days, you could receive a 0. I often work with you, but the thing about it is we just have 4 short weeks, and the final week, we really can't push anything beyond that final Friday because we just don't have the time to get your grades turned around to registrar. So please don't take advantage of the late policy. I know it's very flexible, but you're really going to need to try and keep up to avoid falling behind in week 4. All right. If an assignment closes, do submit your late work into the feedback. All right, so it's important that you know most of your things will be graded before the end of the month, but and actually they won't go grading into week 5. Monday of week 5, which is the next month's week 1, is the last day that I can get your grades in, and so nothing can be turned in that day. Everything must be turned in by that Friday, and I don't mind grading over the weekend, but I definitely need that time to get everything turned in for you, and we want you to get your points so that you pass for sure. So for this course, pay attention to deliverables. They're really important, and they often come with points. So make sure you do that. We don't want any application files. And we want you to know that they're very intentional, just like for a client who will have, it will be necessary for you to submit specific file types to them. It's going to be important for you to do that in your courses as well, right? When you have a peer site review, there's only one for the month, and there are no extensions on these because they involve a peer. That's in your student manual. You will simply go to the People tab on your FSO toolbar on the left, and then on your menu bar, and you will find the peer after you in the roster. Okay, if they don't turn something in, you're going to skip that and go to the next peer who has, right? So the last peer is going to go to the top and give a peer review to the first person on the roster. Okay. There's no coding for this class. It is a media communications and it's a design course, so that's not something that we'll be diving too deeply into. We're using a user-friendly web builder like WiX.com because it will be available to you next year for free still. It's not a trial, and it is very easy to use. It's one of the easiest ones out there. So that said, there are some resources, and we can look at those if you want. Plenty of ways to learn coding right now, but we also don't want you using AI for this, and there's a lot of good reasons, and we'll go into that further as to why it's super important for you to avoid that, right? So here's a summary of the late policy, right? The peer reviews are not extended. Week 4 is the other exception. We can't extend those because your grades have to be turned in. Not understanding instructions isn't a reason to ask for more time. We have tutors for you. Full Sail has tutors at the Copilot Tutoring Center. You can contact me before the assignment is due and ask for any clarification. There are some tips like reading it out loud to yourself a few times. By that time, your brain usually makes sense of it. And the deliverables. right? Mostly embedded, or making sure that your link is actually shared correctly and that it's not pointing to your Wix editor, which no one will have access to. You will. And so it might be confusing at first because you'll say, well, I can access it, but you always will be able to. But no one else can, right? Because it's password protected. Any questions about the policies? Okay, feel free to stop me at any time. Okay, the week 1 assignment. That's the research assignment worth 5% generally. And then the Wix account and setup. That's going to be really important, and I will walk you through that. So I'm going to go through these slides rather quickly so we can get to some of the things that will help clarify the week for you. So you're going to be creating a professional website for yourself. You will be identifying your skill, that is the title of your skill, whether it's cinematographer, videographer, video editor, something like that. Do not put multiple skills. That can be confusing to your target audience. And you will also identify who that might be, who your client is. So who are you thinking about when you create your website? You will look at competitor sites of people in your industry, and that will give you an idea of what you're looking at and what people are accustomed to seeing and what is working. Right? There is a great LinkedIn video on user experience for web. You'll want to watch that, and you'll be submitting the certificate. You'll read or skim the laws of UX. Now, I do let you know that if that is slowing you down as far as submitting your website, then save that for after you submit your website, because you won't be graded on it. It will make your understanding improved. It will, it's a really great content. It's not a difficult read, but you're not going to be quizzed on it. All right. So make sure you manage your time smartly and leave that if you haven't submitted. Now, that said, you can submit your web link, your website, and continue to work on it. I won't know the difference until I go to grade it that you were still working on it. The risk is I might grade it before you're finished, but you might save yourself or get an extra couple of hours if it's due at 11:59 and don't grade at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Then you're going to have a couple of hours there, and I won't know that you weren't completed. Okay. A task heading. I think we ask for a H3 heading now. I'm not that picky about it as long as your tasks stand out and that your headings are really clear. So, task 2 is your competitor research, identifying your skill title, defining your audience, and your competitor sites. You're also going to provide APA citations for your site links. All right. Deliverables for that one, for 1.1 is going to be your certificate. It can be a screenshot or a PDF, and your target audience, your skill, talk about that, competitor links, and your APA citations. That's your deliverable. And you're going to have your heading, task 1, task 2. All right, just some really important reminders. This site is for your professional work examples. It can have school examples if necessary, but it isn't for a business. And we'll talk more about that, but it's not for selling things. If you have a business that is registered with the state and your fees are current and you have been filing annually and you're up to date on that, then you might be able to use that company name. But most of you are not in that situation. And so coming up with a name will not do. You want to use your actual name. Okay. We want to showcase only original work, so you're not going to have AI work. You want it to be content friendly, so it's going to be correlating with Full Sail's content policy, right? And you can look that up in your policy manual, but it will talk about what type of content, PG usually, and no violence, no drugs, no alcohol, that kind of thing, all right? So your work will want to be clear and professionally presented. The way we walk you through it, it will be, okay, if you stay on course and follow our examples, okay? Any questions about that? All right. So here's a really important part. There's some steps that you want to pay very close attention to in the beginning. You're going to make sure you open the free account. They, of course, like most sites, will try and guide you towards a trial that is not free, but we are going to teach you how to use the free one, and it's going to be super important to pay attention to that. So when you get to this page, they're going to, of course, be advertising WiX Studio because that's their paid version. It's a great version, but it's not necessary and it's not free. The trial is only 2 weeks. That won't even get you through the course. Okay. But if you select Create on WiX Editor, then that will be giving you lots of templates, and you'll be able to have everything that you need using that one. Okay. Also, to avoid, along with WiX Studio, something that they've introduced just for 2026 is the WiX Harmony. You have to avoid that because it's AI, and we ask you to use no AI, anything that may say generative or chat, and it starts to ask you if you want it to help you. Those things you want to avoid. You want to skip all the apps and extra pages like online booking, any kind of sales, stores, shops. These won't be complete, right? And so what you'll end up with is a placeholder page, and we can't have that, all right? So make very sure that you are avoiding this. Now, why is that important? If you use WiX Harmony, for example, the AI, we've already talked about WiX Studio, it's not free. If you use WiX Harmony, you can identify it. The templates will have a green label on them. You want to avoid those. It will make up things for you, right? It confabulates or hallucinates, whatever term you like to use. It's going to make things up, and it's noticeable. It will default to generic terms in your industry, which may seem to somebody who's not familiar with it that it's professional or looks really good. It looks just like somebody else who put in some similar information, and it's still a template. At the end of the day, it's a template. But it will also just make up things that aren't true. In another class, if they create a fictitious client and they have all the information given to them, the AI will totally change the name of the client. It will just make up where something is located, even if you're not in that state. So generally, students will lose as much as 20% on their score. And it's not because we say, hey, you can't use AI. It's because AI has let them down. Okay, so we ask that you just avoid that. It's only going to be trouble. We will know if you used WiX Harmony because there's a label at the top, and we will be asking you to start over. So for your own benefit. So just follow the instructions and the steps so that you can avoid that. There is an assignment in week 2 where we allow you to use AI, but we structure it so that you know how to do that exactly. Okay, you answer very specific questions that are very unique to you so that when it creates some writing for you, it applies to you. All right, but we want you to learn when and how to use it, but not for your website. You'll rename the website. Okay, you'll first call it draft, and then when you get your feedback on this, after 2.2, you'll get feedback, and then you will duplicate your site and you'll rename it final. Okay? And there are instructions with all the assignments on how to do these things and where to do it. Publishing is super important. In the top right-hand corner, there's a big Publish button. You'll want to select that. You don't want to copy your URL because that goes to your WiX editor. But when you do select the Publish button, it will give you a link. You can view the site, and you can copy that URL because it will be outside your editor, or you can copy the URL that it gives you after you hit Publish. But super important, otherwise it will be a broken link. Okay. If you do choose to use a template, we recommend a blank one, but if you choose to use something that is already slightly in place, these are some that are easy. If you use a scrolling page, it tends to break the navigation. Students will move things around and they'll end up with extra pages. Have you walk through and remove any kind of extra pages, any kind of extra apps, extra buttons. All those have to come out. That's why we recommend a blank, because all those will already be gone. But if you choose, then these are some that are easier to work with. Use your actual name. A company name, remember, it needs to be registered with your state. Needs to include state-specific fees that are paid and an annual reporting filing that is current. No web AI. Okay, it's not SEO friendly. It is generic, and it is essentially a template that has some reference to your industry. That's all. They don't look great. They do to the inexperienced eye who thinks, wow, look what I did so fast. Nothing special about it, and it isn't as flexible as you may think. All right. So you're going to submit a link as your deliverable that opens up in a new window. It's just set to open in a new window. You'll be using a task heading. Probably you'll be directed to use an H3, and that's just in your FSO toolbar editor. And then you will submit a screenshot of the header, which is in the top of your website, and that always shows your name, your skill title, and the main menu. You'll show a screenshot of the footer, and that will have your name and the current year. If you're not sure how to make a copyright symbol, that is option G. Right? You can submit one screenshot if you happen to be able to get both the header and footer information on one slide. That's absolutely fine. Any questions here? Okay, so I want to walk you through a demonstration of how to use the WiX and open an account and avoid AI. All right, so we're going to take a look at that. You'll begin by getting started. For me, I already have an email, so I'm just going to log in with that. When it brings you to this page, initially you won't have anything here, but you will have the Create New Site button. Really important, you want to go to Create on WiX Editor. Now, if they rename this, sometimes they do things like that. You want to remember that you're avoiding anything that is paid. So no studio, that is definitely a giveaway when it says try, that is a trial that you'll later have to pay for. And their trial only lasts 2 weeks. It won't make it through the course. If you use this, it's free, and you will be able to use it next year too. So this is the one you want. Create on WiX Editor is what they have it called right now. You're going to avoid all AI, so set up without chat. And we're going to skip all of these add-ons. Okay, so come up here to Skip to Dashboard. And remember, they may move things around a little bit, but a little common sense will help you, decide if that's what we're referring to. And we try to keep up to date on our videos. This is a new video, but you never know. They move or reword things mostly. So here's what we want to do. Ignore this. This is not where you rename your site. It may seem like it, but it isn't. This is buying a domain. So we don't do anything here. We do come up here and select Design Site. we're going to choose a template. It's not the type of template that you're thinking maybe, but we will begin here. We will definitely not generate a design with AI. And if you watch the week 1 video, we tell you why. So you definitely want to skip anything that has the WiX Harmony. That is AI also embedded in that. The blank template is what we're interested in. Start from scratch or the minimal layout. Let's try the minimal layout. So remember, we're not using any of this. We're not generating site text, anything about your business. None of that will actually be anything more than a template that may seem that it is unique, but it won't be. So we're going to X out of that. So here we are in your template, and initially you'll have these labels. You'll use the add elements, pages and menu mostly. All right. If I click anywhere on this page, we are able to start. So you'll see that we have basically the pages that are required for your professional site. You've got the main menu in the header. You'll put your name here. So name and skill title. And let's see, let's look at our pages and menu. Remember, that was one that we're going to work with. You can keep this as a gallery or double click and you can rename it to projects if you want. In that situation, if you do, you just want to use a web standard. It could be works, it could be projects, it could be videos, whatever you're going to put there. But I do think you should match it. So if this says projects up here, let's change the title of this to projects. Okay. All right. I want to see, do not use generative text. This is a heading 6. You could use a heading 1 if you like, so that it has, is this sequential? So that would be a 1, and maybe this would be a heading 2. And it doesn't mean this has to be this large. Your heading 1 can be smaller. Okay, you could have it 42. If you want it to be that size everywhere, then you save it to the theme. Do you want to make sure that this isn't larger? It's 40, so it is lower, but the thing is, more importantly, it's labeled in H2. All right, so here's the gallery that comes with the template. And if you select this, you can go to Manage Media, and you can delete some if you don't have that many. You can select it. You can do it this way, however you want, but you can hold down your Shift key and delete all of them. If you have 3, you can all but 3. Then, if you double click, here's where you're going to name it. Okay, so this is the project name. And here's your description of it. Okay. The alternative text, that's what you would name the image. So sure, here it says sunset on a beach. You can come up here and replace the image, and it will give you an opportunity to upload a media. The other thing is, if you come over here to settings, you can go to layout and change what it's going to look like. All right. Of course, you're going to be mindful of your formatting. Let's say you're a graphic designer and you want to just have the grids. Okay. All right. The other thing you can do, let's look at custom. Horizontal. You could go to a movie width. You can do this. The other thing you're going to want to do, you can go to quick edit and change the date here, right? 26, 27, whatever it is, and your name here. Okay, you can take this off, and there you have your footer and your header and your projects page. Your about page, you need to change the background. That's how you change this image, and that will be your profile image, right, of you. And you could manage columns if you could switch those back and forth depending on which way your profile is facing. Perhaps you want to be facing in. So yeah, we do like this to be left aligned. So you double click that, go to alignment, and there it is. It's easier for people to read when it is starting over in the same spot. All right, and it gives you a nice straight edge. And here we have almost everything. If you have a logo, it will go up here. You will be linking up at least a LinkedIn, possibly a YouTube or Instagram. So let's try that. Let's say you need a YouTube. We'll just go up here, YouTube, and there we go, and add it. Okay, and then all we have to do, if we look over here, if this is selected, we're going to add the link. Okay, it is a web page, YouTube. You're going to paste that right there. Okay, you want it open in a new window so that nobody leaves your site, because once they go to YouTube, that is curated for them and they are not coming back to our site. We can't compete with that algorithm. All right, that's really all we have right here. Let's look at the contact page. All right, so when we create a contact page, we want to make sure we remove the phone number. They can email you, and if you choose to give them your number at that time, you can. Definitely no address unless you have a business address, but no home address. You want to be careful about that and whatever you are putting out there. But you do need a form, and here we have one. You don't have to have this. We don't require it, but you can. If somebody gives you their email, it will create an email list for you, but it's not required for this class. We have these here, so we don't really need them here, but we did add horizontal. And let's move it down. All right, I do want to move this content up. That's a lot of scrolling. And you do want your email address there. So that's something you're going to need. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's add some text. We'll do it that way. We'll add this. And let's put it here. We can bring this down a little bit. And then let's edit this. And we can just put your email like that. And then you are going to link it. It's going to be an email. And then you're going to put your email there again. You can put a phrase here. This is a good way to identify quickly that it's about a job that came to you through your website. Put something there like super interested in working together or something. So when you see that, you're going to know that there's a possible client on the other end. Okay, so you can put that wherever feels right. Maybe you want this here. There are other forms that you could add that will have that and have it placed. You want to make sure everything is centered. That's pretty much what you'll want to do for the class, all right? You will be adding your content to your projects page. If you don't use the gallery, that's okay. And you can go to video and music, and then you change the video and put your URL for your video, and it'll pop right in there. And you can put, let's see, Command C, Command V, and you can write your description there too. Okay, you can this down so that we've got more space, even more. And you don't have to have 3 lines there. That will bring it up a little more. You can Command C, V, and add it a second one, whatever you want to do there. Okay, you can go here and go to galleries. We have these. You don't probably need to use many of these things. but they're there. All right. There's also other video formats. If you have other videos, you aren't required to have a lot. Once you have your videos in there. Okay. You might want single videos and add them that way. You can have smaller sliders. These are just the same options that we had if we were to add over here. All right. Okay, so I hope that helps. We've really been trying to make this easier for you. Do understand that small things are going to change throughout the year, and it's possible some pages will look a little different when you first log in, but don't worry too much about that. If you stay away from anything that looks like AI, you're going to be fine. All right? All right. Reach out if you have any questions whatsoever, and have fun.